Hello and welcome to Co-Designing Access in a Small Art Gallery for Blind Visitors. My name is Naomi Hain and I'm the Director Curator at the North Bay Museum, and I'm also a member of the OMA Conference Planning Committee for this year. Before we get started, I want to make sure that everyone knows how to participate today. You should be able to see the slides and to see and hear the panelists speak. If you would like to send a question to the panelists, simply type your message into the Q&A box that you can access at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to say hello to your colleagues on the call, you can chat with them using the chat feature, which you can also access at the bottom of your screen. And during the presentation, there will be a time to share verbally with the group. If you would like to speak, look for the raise hand feature. Depending on how you signed into the meeting, the raise hand feature may be located in the reactions menu at the bottom of your screen or under participants. At the appropriate time, you will receive permissions to unmute your microphone and share. You can turn on the automated closed captions by clicking on the CC icon at the bottom of your screen. And OMA staff will be monitoring the chat and will help out with any technical questions you might have. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. With us today is Carla Ayukawa, an instructor of exhibition design and the sensory aspect of design for user experience at Carleton University School of Industrial Design. She has worked for over 20 years as an industrial designer and has published and presented her research about accessible exhibition design and participatory models internationally. Also with us is Fiona Wright, the Student and Public Programs Coordinator at the Carleton University Art Gallery. She has worked at CUAG for the last 10 years, developing dynamic and collaborative programming for its exhibitions and permanent art collection. Also with us today is James Bluhm, who is a community consultant at the Carleton University Art Gallery and a retired federal civil servant who has been visually impaired for more than 2 decades. He is interested in applying skills gained through life experiences to pursuits which will benefit those who have been segregated from opportunities due to a lack of sight. For more information on our panelists, visit the speakers section on the conference portal. So now I'd like to invite Carla, Fiona, and James to begin their presentation.
Thanks so much, Naomi. I'm just going to share my screen. So thank you so much for attending this presentation and workshop on co-designing access for blind visitors in a small art gallery. My name is Fiona Wright, and I am the Student and Public Programs Coordinator at the Carleton University Art Gallery. I'm so excited to share this project and process with you. I'm a white settler female with dark hair, and I've lost my voice. And next to speak is Carla Ayukawa, Asian Canadian woman with funky pink and white hair and glasses.
Hi, I'm Carla Ayukawa, and I've worked with Fiona to develop the process together, and we collaborated with James here and 7 other community consultants to create the audio description products. And James here is a white male with blindness. He's often seen with his guide dog Chico, but today it's just him on Zoom. And James?
And hi, I'm James Bluhm. I never anticipated that I would ever be delivering a presentation to the Ontario Museums Association. It's quite an opportunity. It's the end result of a project that I participated in and which is the subject of this presentation.
So we'll be describing the slides throughout the presentation. This slide shows a digital photo montage created by artists Josefa and Jam. There are layers of purple and green organic shapes on top of a photograph of a ceremonial mask. So today we are talking about an audio description tour at Carleton University Art Gallery, which is located on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. The tour was developed with and for gallery visitors who are blind or who have low vision. In an exhibition that explored different kinds of perceptibility, this tour opened up spaces for multisensory engagements and shared social experiences.
For our presentation today, we'll give an overview and a scope of the Drift audio description tour. We'll talk about our approach and the process of creating it, and also the importance of community collaboration.
We plan to talk about the project from each of our perspectives, outlining the key elements and successes of the development of the audio description tour. And then we plan to hold a participatory activity to practice audio descriptions.
Wonderful. So I'm on slide 2 now, and this slide shows the same digital photo montage by Josefa and Jam, and it's titled Goals. So we had 3 goals for this project. First was to develop an access resource for an exhibition at the Carleton University Art Gallery that would allow the exhibition to be accessible to members of Ottawa's blind and low vision communities.
Our second goal was to prioritize collaboration over consultation with members of the blind and low vision community in Ottawa at the onset of the project.
The last goal that we'd like to mention is to learn about displaying art using audio descriptions and adaptive technology for future use in the Carleton University Art Gallery and to share with other interested parties. It's that latter point which interests me the most. I hope that we can promote the use of audio descriptions for use in your facilities without causing you too much consternation.
Thank you. So I'm on slide 3 here, which shows an installation shot of Joel Tom's work, and Land, the Holographic Principle. And some of the components of the installation include wall works of flattened 3D renderings of spaces and rocks and chains that are directly on the floor of the Carleton University Art Gallery. And the title and credits of the exhibition are overlaid on the photo. So Carleton University Art Gallery is the only university art gallery in Ottawa. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary. We have a staff of 6, and we offer a dynamic and ambitious program of exhibitions, publications, and educational programming for the communities that we're connected to, both on campus and civic. Our winter 2022 exhibition was Drift, Art and Dark Matter, which was generated by Agnes Etherington Art Center, the Arthur B. McDonald Canadian Astroparticle Physics Research Institute, and Snow Lab. 4 artists, Nadia Lichtig, Josefa and Jam, Anne Riley, and Joel Toms, had worked with the physicists, chemists, and engineers who contribute to the search for dark matter at Snow Lab's underground facility in Sudbury, 2 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. Dark matter is a matter that essentially holds together the universe, only no one can see it or really know what it's made of. And through these transdisciplinary exchanges with scientists, the artists created artworks that act as multisensory agents in the search for an experience of dark matter. So as we were thinking about exhibitions as a site for an accessibility project, this theme of searching for something undetectable and the ways that both scientists and artists approach this task in creative ways really rang true for an accessibility resource for people who are blind or who have low vision. The project was developed as part of the Creative Access Working Groups project, funded by the Canada Council for the Arts Sector Innovation Grant. It was in partnership with Critical Distance Centre for Curators and Tangled Art and Disability. And the grant was intended to provide support for each organization to experiment with creating accessible exhibitions. It was quite open. I would say the largest expense were the fees for the community consultants who were paid according to CARFAC. This was really important to us as it was about valuing the services that we as an institution were benefiting from. Now, James, can you talk about your past experiences in art galleries, perhaps specifically the Carleton University Art Gallery?
As was mentioned, I lost my sight about 20 years ago. Prior to that, I had visited art galleries regularly in Ottawa and on vacations throughout the world. I always enjoyed the learning experiences and opportunities that they provided to me. Following my loss, I found that the visit to an art gallery was far less accessible than I had imagined. On specific exhibits, there might be some audio descriptions available because of its special nature, but in general, there was very little accessible information available, and what was limited to the name of the piece of art on names of the pieces of art on display and their creators. To get an audio description, I had to rely on my wife, if she was available, to view the exhibit with me and provide me with that description. Consequently, my attendance at art galleries dropped dramatically.
Did you want to talk about your first visit to the Carleton University Art Gallery?
Yeah, the first time I visited the Carleton University Art Gallery was in 2014, and after retirement, I decided to pursue a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature at Carleton. My Canadian literature prof assigned me to review an art exhibit by a Canadian artist on display at the art gallery. I shook my head a bit and went to the gallery and found that my past experiences were repeated. It did not have any accessible information on the art that it was exhibiting. And so again, I relied on my wife to come in, and we viewed the art together. And I went back and wrote my paper and did quite well by it. And things sort of went on to other things. Because when the chance to participate in the audio description tour came up, I thought I had some ideas to contribute.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry, James. We'll just keep it there.
I submitted my application.
Oh, sorry. We're just going to move on to slide 4.
Okay.
But thank you, James, for sharing your past experiences.
So this slide just shows a timeline of the project, and I'll be going over the key points of the process. So I came on board on the summer of 2021. Even though I came on board on summer of 2021. And my first step was to recruit 8 community consultants, and the 8 community consultants, such as James, offered a spectrum of lived experience with vision loss. And so once they were recruited, they were provided with an information package about the exhibition and dark matter. And then there was a first collaborative session that was held over Zoom, and we discussed it, the exhibition, on the November of 2021. And the development of the audio description prototype 1, which we'll be talking about later, began immediately thereafter. So prototype 1 was tested by the community consultants in January, which led to changes, and then the prototype 2 was developed and tested in February 2022. So it happened all very, very fast. And Drift opened in the February, and it ran until April of 2022 with the audio description available throughout.
Carla. So we're on slide 5 now. And on the left are images from the information package that included text, web, video links about Snow Lab, dark matter, and the artist's work. And on the right is an image of a whiteboard with a couple dozen colorful sticky notes on the top portion. The bottom portion has a blue line drawn in marker that lays out the tour in a linear way. And some of the words read playlist, objects, intro. And the slide is titled Reflections on Session 1. So James, I wonder what appealed to you about joining the project, and how did you hear about it?
Well, I learned about the project through the Get Together on Technology program of the Canadian Council of the Blind. And 3 things appealed to me about it. First of all, I liked the subject matter, which was dark matter. I thought it was interesting to be planning to produce an audio description of something which nobody had seen. Secondly, I was enthused by the team that was trying the best they could to come up with the most accessible exhibit that they had ever produced. This was something quite rare. And finally, there's a saying within the blind community, nothing about us without us. And this was a chance for visually impaired persons to participate in the development of a tool that would greatly enhance other visually impaired persons' independent viewing of an art exhibit. It was a very worthwhile project.
Thanks, James. It's nice to hear. Some of the key aspects that I want to share about the session, the first session, was really the importance of that pre-session information package that we sent out. And we used, the other things are like, we used a very small focus groups of 2 to 3 people conducted over Zoom. And we really had open-ended and non-leading questions. And then the other things were, we really listened to their experiences with museums, audio description and video description, and most importantly, hearing what they wanted to take as takeaways from the exhibition visit. And the other thing about the first session is that we recorded it and we transcribed it, so which allowed us to review it, dig deeper, and conduct a thematic analysis of all of their input.
Thanks. So I'm on slide 6 now, and on the left is a photograph of one of the community consultants in the gallery, standing in front of a large geometric metal sculpture hanging from the ceiling. The sculpture is called The Bulk. And the community consultant holds a white cane and tablet and wears a mask. And on the right is a community consultant bends down to touch a stack of papers. She holds her phone up to her ear and has a guide dog. And there's a tactile path on the floor of the gallery. And the title reads Reflections on Sessions 2 and 3. So as Carla mentioned, there were 2 prototypes. And within each one, each stop had 2 components or chapters, one to describe and one to reflect. And this structure allowed for some choice by the visitor, depending on their interest in a specific artwork. And I used the exhibition labels, my own observations and research to write the tour, and wrote in a style that was clear and organized with vivid descriptions and specific details. We also hired voice actors to create specific personalities around the artworks. And we worked with a professional technician, Nicole Bedford, to record and edit the tour.
We began this audio description development knowing that it was going to be an iterative process with multiple prototypes. And so with this iterative process, it gave us this freedom to experiment with technologies, orientation tools, and different materials for tactile floor markings. And it also allowed us to manage expectations and to make changes quickly before investing too much time and money. And each prototype was tested by the community consultants in the exhibition space. And during the testing, we observed them and we listened to what they said worked and what did not work and how it could be improved. James, what were some of the things that you noticed that were changed or were improved or really still need to be improved throughout this kind of iterative process?
So I remember rambling through the exhibit with my guide dog, and he totally ignored all of the work that you had done on laying out the tactile path and stops throughout the exhibit. As far as he was concerned, they were something to avoid. Whereas a person using a cane would have been very happy to follow the tracks on the floor and to be able to find where to stop to listen to the audio description. For me, it was the audio cues, the orientation that was provided in the audio description that allowed me to give the guidance to my pup to have him do the same thing. it just shows that the blind and visually impaired community is not homogeneous. It's made up of many different personalities with many different skills and abilities. After the second prototype, though, I thought we had accomplished what I felt to be a very worthwhile, accessible tour. We were able to navigate through the exhibit without a sighted guide, as well as to be able to stop and see the pieces of art on display and then to reflect upon them. It was something that was rare for a visually impaired person to do, and I thought it was a significant accomplishment. I attributed that accomplishment to two things. First of all, the project team brought in the community consultants right from the very start. Often, consultants are brought in to hear an audio description that has already been produced that may have good information, but probably has some glaring examples of things that could be improved. Having the consultants around right from the beginning was probably the best way of getting the best possible accessibility tool. And secondly, I and the other community consultants enjoyed the creation process. Often consultants are brought in to listen to an audio description that's being prepared based on preconceived ideas of what the project team thought the visually impaired community would like to hear. In the case of this project, there were very few preconceived ideas, and we were able to answer questions and make known what we thought about audio descriptions in the past, what was worthwhile and what was not worthwhile. It was an excellent way of proceeding, and the final result was indicative of that.
Thanks so much, James. I'll point out too, on our prototype 1, we used SoundCloud. That proved to not really work. There were too many pop-ups. And so the prototype 2 was done using a podcast format with chapters. And then also in this prototype 2, we added in even more playful, informal language. I think James, after the first prototype, he said there were no exclamation marks. And so we tried to add those in, and we also experimented more. So for example, one component of Nadia's installation was a written score for 2 voices, and sighted visitors could only read the score, but we included a performance of it in the audio description tour. So I'm going to play just 30 seconds of the audio description, and this is for the bulk, which is right here.
Chapter 9, The Bulk, Frameworks 1. This chapter describes Joel Tom's sculpture, The Bulk. The chapter is 2 minutes and 17 seconds long. If you reach out gently, you may touch the slowly rotating sculpture.
The final component of NLAN that we are examining is called The Bulk Frameworks 1, one of 2 large-scale sculptures that are suspended from the 19-foot high ceiling in front of you. It is 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet and hangs 3 feet from the ground. The form of the sculpture is called a hypercube or N-cube. Here is a more in-depth description.
Chapter 9.
We're on slide 7. And on this slide, there's Fiona and I, and we're standing on either side of 2 community consultants in the gallery. And they're listening to a track about the Robinson Huron Treaty, which was part of Joel Tom's installation. And this slide is titled Themes. So in this audio description development process, there were 4 themes that were our guiding principles. And these principles emerged from the consultants in that first session. So one of them was lighten the cognitive load. And this manifested in clearly communicating what to expect and offering tools to allow visitors to orient themselves within the space and within the audio description tour. And we had the tour available before the visit on a familiar digital platform as the podcast. We offered a tactile map so visitors could orient themselves in the exhibition space. We added the time lengths at the beginning of each chapter and described the components of the tour in the introduction. So visitors were more comfortable. So James, can you give us an example of how having the tour available before the visit improved your experience?
As was mentioned, SoundCloud as a podcast platform was more cumbersome when walking through the exhibit and swiping at an iPhone using VoiceOver. I transferred the sound files from SoundCloud to a device that I was more used to using and I thought was more accessible, and was able to take the information and walk through the gallery quite easily thereafter. It was just an opportunity that was available because the audio files were available and accessible. However, I did find that the audio descriptions provided really transformed the exhibit from being something that I would get very little out of to something that was very enjoyable, and thought it was very productive.
Thank you. So the second theme was around this idea of autonomy. So how to create an experience that allowed for a visit to the exhibition without assistance. So this includes providing orientation in the gallery and in the audio description. And we had laid down plastic tracks for the stops on the tour. Then we had felt shapes at the different stops. So James, can you talk about the importance of autonomy and perhaps a past experience when you didn't feel that autonomy?
Autonomy was emphasized, and I can't stress more its importance to the visually impaired community. It consists of two flavors. One is to be able to independently navigate through any given area. And then secondly, to be able to get to a piece of art and to be able to learn about it and to get information about its significance. All of these necessary objectives were accomplished by the audio description that was produced. And I remember a few years ago, my wife and I were in San Francisco and spent some time at their Museum of Modern Art. One of the short-term exhibits on display at that time was entitled Lost Pets. And we thought this would be an interesting one to see. We arrived where the exhibit was held and found it to be a large hall without any accessible information, any audio description available at all. So I took my pup and I put him in a corner and told him to lie down and go to sleep, which he is very happy to do. And I took my wife's hand and we walked around the exhibit, and she described each piece of art and made us navigate from point to point. It was a total contrast to the audio described tour that was available for Drift. And I appreciated the latter much more. However, on leaving the Museum of Modern Art, we noted many other visitors had paid particular attention to my dog sleeping on the floor, and we're trying to figure out whether he was part of the exhibit or not.
Thanks. Thank you, James. A third theme was about the multisensory aspect. So it was really important to have opportunities and really clear invitations for multisensory connections with the artwork. So throughout the tour, we had prompts like reach out and touch, and to spend time listening to a particular aspect of an installation, or to feel the temperature changes that the lights gave. And James, do you want to talk about the bulk?
I really liked the bulk, and I thought it was the best piece in Drift. And one of the main reasons was that I could reach out and touch it and get some idea of its size and its makeup, and just a better understanding of it. The audio description described it well, but the touch enhanced it. And I thought it was good, but I'm still trying to grasp its meaning.
Yeah, I'm still trying to grasp its meaning too. But the fourth theme that we were exploring was the social experience of the audio description. And we recognized that a visit to the gallery goes beyond just an educational opportunity, but also it's a social event that's shared with friends. And as a result, we try to include these prompts for reflection and conversation, within the audio description. And we also tried to make the tone friendly. For example, we'd like it to sound, we heard from the consultants that we'd like it to sound like there's a friend who's talking in our ear. And so James, tell us about, how you found the tone of the tour, and the other elements that made it kind of the social experience.
I thought the tone was both informative and entertaining. It was fun to use in navigating the exhibit. However, one thing I also noted was that after finishing viewing the exhibit, I didn't know what my wife's thoughts about it were, even though she was reviewing it at the same time. I did not need her support for navigating my way through, nor for a description of the art that was on display. It was probably not an enhancer of the social context in this case.
Well, you could talk about it on the way home from the gallery.
That's true.
Yeah, I have different opinions.
So we're on to slide 8 now. And so on the left is a photo of Nadia Lichtig's light and textile installation on the floor of the gallery, and 2 community consultants stand at one end. And on the right is a photo of Carla, our research assistant Evangeline, one of the community consultants, sitting on chairs during a feedback and reflection time. And the slide is titled Project Outcomes. So for me, really the outcome was this effective audio description that was developed for Drift with 2 forms of tactile wayfinding. And the audio description was listened to by numerous members of the blind and vision loss communities in Ottawa during the exhibition. And we really received positive responses from those who used it, as well as from the community consultants about the process.
And for me, really an important outcome from this whole process really was what emerged from this session, the first session. There were things in it that we just didn't expect, but ended up being integral to the success of the audio description. For example, wayfinding, navigation, and cognitive load. Another important outcome was the importance of the iterative experimentation and really allowing us to explore and make mistakes and not trying for perfection on the first time. Also really discovering that the audio description was of appeal to the sighted visitor because it really, the shared social experience, while the visitor experienced art independently from their wives, and then we're able to talk about it together afterwards. And, so this audio description tool was inclusionary, so it's not exclusionary. And finally, for me, I really think it gave the Carleton University Art Gallery what I like to call accessibility confidence. They gained really the confidence to collaborate, recognize that collaboration makes the final product richer, novel, and they were able to find or integrate accessible thinking into their exhibition development process at the onset. Yeah, and James, do you have any final reflections about this process?
My final reflection, which I think was shared by most of the members of the visually impaired community who saw it, was one of surprise. It's next to never that a small touring exhibit such as Drift receives this level of attention to make it accessible. It was really appreciated. It was really worthwhile. And it was something that we hoped would be seen again in the future at the Carleton University Art Gallery. And we would recommend that other institutions also adopt the approach whenever possible. One final note is that audio descriptions aren't just for those who are visually impaired. One quote that you read when reading about the making of audio descriptions is, "Vision is wasted on those who can see." Think about it. An audio description can enhance anybody's appreciation of a television program, a movie, or an art exhibit by drawing attention to details that may be overlooked while viewing it.
Thank you so much. So I really think that having that collaborative process creates a richer product. And so we want to have you in the audience recognize that for yourselves. So we will go ahead and head into the activity. Oh, Carla, you're on mute.
I know. So in this activity, yeah, we're going to be demonstrating how you can have a deeper, richer, and maybe a novel audio description by using a collaborative process. Having a community consultant at the onset could result in a different result than what a curator or an interpretive planner might have instinctively created. And just a note that this exercise is kind of like a starting point. Others will have different ways they want the information organized. And we're going to be asking you, the audience, so no shy people, please. We want you to participate in this activity and really be an active learner. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to describe a piece of art that we'll be bringing up on the next screen. And then James will ask some questions to kind of fill in the gaps. And then you'll write a description. Oh, yes. Then you'll read out your audio description to everyone, or we'll read it if you want to put it in the chat. And then James can ask some questions. And then we're going to have you write the description for another artwork based on what you learned from James, like what were the gaps. Oh, and by the way, James is not going to, he has no idea what this image is going to be. So it's a little bit of, this whole thing is a bit of a surprise to us as well as going to be to him. And we're going to be providing you with a link to the artwork in the chat. So really, we just want you to do, 2 to 3 sentence descriptions. And then we're going to ask, or you're going to volunteer for, 1 or 2 of you to read out your description. And then you're going to, James is going to tell us, what he wants to know. And then you can reflect on your first description based on those suggestions. And then we're going to have you do another one. Okay? So we'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes. Oh, yes, it's up. Did you put it in the chat, Fiona? The
no.
link? Okay, sorry. I think I was supposed to do that. But...
So the slide is up now. So you can either do this on a piece of paper or maybe on a Word document. And then, yeah. Carla, you can
paste it into the chat. The timer, of course. Yeah, so we'll have about I guess we're looking at more like 3 minutes now. Do this. And it's a very beautiful piece of art. I feel like we should have some music playing in the background with this activity.
Oh. No one wants to hear me sing.
No one wants to hear music?
No, wants to hear me sing right now.
Oh, you sing, not with that voice.
No.
We have 2 minutes left. Do you think we should? How's everyone doing?
I'm particularly interested in knowing what art was selected and what it looks like. We've been talking about this activity for a long time, and I've sort of been on the side as the guinea pig.
Yeah.
This is Carla's selection.
So Fiona, did you put it in the chat? Because I can't see it in the chat, but maybe that's just me.
No, I didn't. I thought you had.
Oh, okay. Did we? Okay. I don't have the link. Oh, here it is. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we've got about 41 seconds left. So if anyone wants to, you can put up your hand and we'll pick one of you, or you can put it in the chat. We're going to choose one of you guys. Or Fiona, would you like the honors?
Just gonna wait to see who wants to share.
Don't be shy. Okay. Well, should we choose somebody at random? Are we going to lose everyone as everyone's going to leave?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can choose someone. Maybe I'm gonna choose. Hopefully she's okay with this. I'm gonna choose Jillian. Jillian, do you want to unmute and you could try describing this?
So
Oh,
maybe
hold
we
on.
should
She
go.
says she doesn't know how to unmute. I think someone has to unmute you.
Oh, hold on. I can. Okay. Oh, there's two Jillians.
Oh, okay. Now you should be unmuted.
Jillian King. Jillian. Or maybe the other Jillian. Oh, okay. We have a problem with it's the way that it's set up that the participants can't speak. But we have a description in the chat. And
Okay, do you want me to read it out?
sure.
Okay.
Okay, James, here we go.
So it is So I'll just read out the information about the artwork. So this is by Elizabeth Wynne Wood. It's called Northern Ireland. No, Northern Island. It's from 1927. The materials are cast tin on black glass base, and it's 19 by 11 by 10.6 centimeters. This is from the collection of the National Gallery of Canada. And so Chloe, Dennis, thank you so much for adding the description. So they wrote a wide black platform with an abstract curved sculpture emerging from the center.
So James, would you like to comment on if you had any questions or how, like, what kind of information would you need?
What was the word following abstract?
Curved.
Curved sculpture. Hi, Jillian.
Oh, this is Chloe.
Sorry, Chloe. Hi, Chloe. Thanks. I'd like to know it's the relative size of the object on the platform. Does it encompass almost all of the platform? Half of it?
So Megan, are you able to unmute Chloe?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted now. Is it working?
Oh, fabulous. Great. Oh.
I'd say it takes up maybe like 2/3.
And is the object a different color than the platform?
No, it looks like it's all the same color, all black.
So it doesn't really stand out very much.
Not in color, but definitely in form and height, I would say.
Is it an abstract object? Is it a representation of a sea animal?
I would say it's abstract because I couldn't tell what it was.
Okay, that's normally what I feel too in viewing these things. Would it be soft and smooth to the touch?
Parts of it looked soft, or not soft, but smooth, whereas some parts are more textured and there's layers and like kind of ridging as it's kind of curving.
Did you detect any significance in its title, The Island?
I suppose the structure emerging from the platform could be considered as the island itself, because it's one thing in the mix of something that's very standard in size, like a body of water, ocean, and the sculpture in the center of it.
Mm.
You would have no idea of its actual size, I take it. Do you think it's small? Do you think it's large?
The measurements are on the screen. It's 19 by 11 centimeters.
Okay.
Yeah, quite small.
Does the platform look like it is going to be on any land, or is it on a sea? Anything that you can tell that is below the platform?
The platform itself is there's nothing below it, or it's not on top of anything. The platform is like a large, flat rectangle.
Okay, so there's no waves of the rectangle that's indicating that it's part of the sea or anything like that.
Not that I can tell. Like the sculpture in the middle, part of it is perhaps a wave, or maybe it's a landmass. I'm unsure.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to share their description?
What I'm
Well,
struggling with is the curved object and trying to interpret it as a structure. Can anybody help me with that?
Well, for me, James, this is Carla. There seems to be a contrast between the platform, which is very, very flat, and then the sculpture seems to kind of grow out of it. Or if you can imagine an island on a very, very still lake, and this island is that abstract object, and then the still lake is that flat platform.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think I've got an appreciation for it.
I liked what
Wanna-
I liked what Chloe said about like how the sculpture could be a wave. So it's true, it's called the island, but it does, like, the abstraction of the form, it makes it look like a wave. It's great. Thank you. And thanks so much, Chloe. So I think we've got time to do another one.
Yeah.
So this is the second artwork. And so, yeah, Carla, do you want to put 2 minutes on the clock?
Yeah, we'll put 2 minutes. So it's just kind of getting, knowing what, how James was describing what his needs are. If you could, in this next audio description, if you could kind of integrate that into your own description of this next sculpture, which is here. And I've put a link for everyone to get a bit more information about this piece of artwork if you're curious about it a bit more. We have about a minute to go on everyone's written description. And let's see. If anyone wants to volunteer, I will again pick someone out of the group and see if we can get their microphone working. All right, we've got about 30 seconds. So does anyone want to volunteer their description? Otherwise, maybe we could ask Courtney if they'd like to try it out. Courtney, are you able to join us? Megan, is Courtney able to?
Oh, I think Courtney is unmuted now.
Oh, okay, perfect. if she's there. Otherwise, maybe we could ask, I've got Bethany on my list here too.
This is showing your classic professor.
I know,
Executive pro.
calling everyone out.
Yeah.
Well, Fiona, oh, we've got a message. Oh, Courtney says, hi, I don't think you can hear me.
Oh, Megan, can you?
Oh, we have someone unknown who's volunteered. If anyone could speak.
I don't think, yeah, Megan, I don't think Courtney was unmuted properly. If you want to try anything.
Okay, Courtney, I think you're unmuted on our side. Okay, it's not working.
Oh, okay, something's just not
Okay.
working. Thanks for
Okay,
trying.
you know,
Courtney, anyway.
Fiona, I'm gonna volunteer you to describe it.
Okay,
Or unless
so
there's somebody
James,
else.
oh, yeah. James, so the artist here is Brian Youngin, and the title is called Performance Bonnet. It's from 2019, and the materials are Nike Air Jordan athletic shoes, and it's 87.5 by 76 by 67 centimeters. And it's also from the collection of the National Gallery of Canada. So this is a sculpture, but and it's displayed on a mannequin's head, and it's made out of basically just I don't know, it would be like Nike Air Jordan running shoes that have been taken apart from their kind of usual shape and re-put together to make a performance bonnet, which is part of the gala,
Regalia.
Regalia. Sorry, gala regalia that's worn during different kinds of performances at a powwow. Yeah, and it's black and white. Sorry, I'm doing this off the cuff, so I'm not doing a very good job. What are some things that or information that you would want to know?
Does it represent an abstract image, or is he trying to make a character representation?
I think if you wouldn't know what the artist was trying to create, it would seem abstract. The pieces of the running shoes are kind of emerging from the top and all the sides. It creates almost like a sun, you know, where it's circular, but then there are all these like beautiful shapes that are emerging from it.
So are the two running shoes forming one object, or are they still apart?
Oh, it's multiple running shoes. I don't know how many running shoes it would be. I think it would be dozens and dozens. Yeah. And it would feel like you can see I'm not sure you'd be able to feel it, but you would be able to feel the like the leather or like plasticky feeling of a running shoe, and then also like the black thread that would be sewing the different parts of the shoe together in these kind of waves.
So are most of the running shoes taken apart and decomposed?
All of them are, yeah.
All
yeah,
of them.
or deconstructed. That's the word I want. It's like deconstructed.
To be recreated as something that you aren't
Yes,
able
as
to
part of
tell
a
what it
regalia.
is.
Yeah, as part of a regalia.
And it's called performing.
Performance bonnet. Yeah.
And
I think I can see that I can see that it's 3:45 now. So maybe I'll turn it back over to Naomi to close it up. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, for trying to join us too.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to thank Carla, Fiona, and James for that very informative and eye-opening session. I think we all got some inspiration to bring back to our own organizations about how a project like this can evolve and how you can bring in community collaboration right from the start. Before we go, I just wanted to remind everyone we're having a 15-minute break. So from 3:45 to 4 o'clock. And after the break, you can join either of today's last two sessions, the Oakville Museum Coach House, an Arts and Craft Revival, or Molds in the Collection, an Artifact Move and Planning. And please, again, visit the conference portal to learn more about and access each session. And we hope to see you all back at 4 o'clock. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.